Hello, I am Ravi Kumar Gundavalli, and this is a video to sum up the activity of Geoheritage WhatsApp group and Indian Geoparks Facebook group. The work they have carried out for quite some time. Talking about geoheritage in India, a historical perspective, it was beloved M.S. Krishnan, who in the pre-independent era, he identified Satanur fossil wood park. Later on, it was given the credit to be one of the National Geological Monuments by Geological Survey of India. And this publication on National Geological Monuments started our big effort for National Geological Monuments, though the Shivalik Vertebrate Fossil Park at Saketi was also one of the earliest, being in the early 1970s. An initiative taken by INTAC, an NGO dedicated for heritage of India, conducted a workshop in the year 2013 at Andhra University under the leadership of Professor Rajashekara Reddy of the Geology Department. This is a well-attended event. The then Director General Sundaramurthy and the Director General to be Dr. S.K. Wadhavan and Additional Deputy Director General Shri G.P. Mahapatra and several others attended from Geological Survey of India, as well as a lot of young delegates from INTAC have attended this webinar. And I had this opportunity to meet Dr. Bhargava at this event. They published a monogram which is now available as a free download. This is one of the well-illustrated publication about Indian geoheritage. There is also draft of a law for geoconservation. Please Google it and download it. Since then, a WhatsApp group was created by Professor Manjeet Majumdar, who also participated in this webinar, and that's how many of us came together. And then one of the very good events, I will not be touching upon all the events. There are many events which have taken place for the geoheritage and Indian geoheritage. This event, 2019, 11th July, again sponsored by INTAC at National Institute of Advanced Studies, Bengaluru. Thanks to Dr. C.P. Rajendran, who took the initiative. Professor Kale, who has two very well-illustrated publications on geomorphosites of the nation as well as Maharashtra. He presented his account extensively. Dr. Pappu, she is a very experienced archaeologist. She narrated about the archaeological sites of Madurai, where a lot of finds are seen and digging is still going on. This was well attended, and this is where I met Save Rocks an NGO's main exponent, Mrs. Farake. And then this is another very important event. This was a walk conducted around the country to save geoheritage, initiated by Society of Earth Scientists, Dr. Satish Tripathi. Then he was still working as Deputy Director General GSI Hyderabad. This is the invitation, and Honorable Central Minister Shri G. Kishan Reddy has attended as to flag off the walk, and you can see Director General N. Kutumba Rao, retired, and C.H. Venkateswar Rao, Senior Deputy Director General Training Institute, in the photo, and Honorable Minister Krishan Reddy Garu talked extensively about saving rocks at Hyderabad, taking examples of Banjara Hills and Jubilee Hills and the fantastic rock structures that are there in Hyderabad. There were many who attended this very good event in which Save Rocks participated. Young volunteers from Save Rocks outshouted most of us seniors from Geological Survey of India with their shout, "Save rocks, save rocks." It was a wonderful experience. So after this event at the Indian National Science Academy on 6th August, again conducted by Society of Earth Scientists, an NGO from Lucknow. This is the invitation for the same. Conservation of geoheritage, current scenario and future action plan. This was a brainstorming session, and the attendees of this wonderful brainstorming session: Dr. Rasik Ravindra, Professor Aluwalia, Dr. Dheeraj Mohan Banerjee, Manjeet Majumdar, Bidisha, Dr. S.K. Wadhaman. They were there. And then the sequence of events that took place soon after, and the breaking of pandemic has postponed the IGC 36, in which we were supposed to have a booth for geoheritage. But in spite of all this, the group, we have beaten the pandemic with webinars, starting with a Himalayan triology. Excuse me. By Dr. Bhargava, Professor Biyani, and Dr. Ritesh Arya on 31st May. In fact, work on testing such a webinar took place much earlier, and a presentation by the geologist couple, Sudha and Nataraj Vaddadi of Pune, they presented. My humble self, Dr. B.M. Farooq, S.V. Sachinarayana, who acted as a moderator for a seminar on Godavari Geotourism, which is there in this very presentation. And Dr. Ashok Grover, retired Deputy Director General, Amarish Chatterjee. They all participated in the test, and on 31st we had our first webinar. And then soon, after quite a few webinars, a Facebook group was created. This is the logo prepared by Bidisha, our very active participant. Now let's go to the actual webinars recordings that are available on YouTube. These are the recordings available on YouTube. You just Google inside YouTube Indian Geoparks. This is a dedicated YouTube channel. You will get all the webinars that have taken place. Initially we had a weekly webinar every Sunday, 31st May to 21st July. 21st July being the annual ceremony of the walk we conducted on the same day 2019, 1 year ago. So you can see quite a few as playlists. All of them were well attended, including very good discussions. Right from the Himalayas to Rajasthan to Madhya Pradesh to Maharashtra and Odisha. And the present webinar is from Andhra Pradesh. Many more will come. There was one on road geotourism in West Bengal too. And there were two webinars, training webinars, how to use a smartphone for recording geoheritage data. In this, very seniors have attended, including Amarish Chatterjee, Deputy Director General retired, Dr. Sudha Nataraj, Dr. B.M. Farooq, Dr. Ritesh Arya. Many young students and researchers have also attended this. So, Dr. Ritesh Arya in particular, he has extensively used 5 epicollect, which is one of the components of these webinars, to note all the geoheritage data. I request you pause this video and have a look at them, and you can go to YouTube and actually see them. You will like them and you will be able to collect geoheritage data with geotag and on a server of 5 epicollect. After the first phase of webinars, which ended on 21st July, our second phase of webinars started from October. This time, each month, we are having one webinar. October for Rod Bengal Geotourism, November for Saketi Fossil Park, and the present one in December for Godavari Geotourism. The second phase webinars will continue. The second phase webinars, the edition is a signage for erecting at suitable points to attract geotourists or tourists for geotourism, and also how it can be erected. An example, the Rod Geopark is the nearest to the museum. The footfalls of tourists at museum are one of the best in Calcutta city, and having such a signage there, and maybe one at the railway station, one at the India Tourism Office, West Bengal Tourism Office, at the airport, and all such vantage points, including Geological Survey of India, Salt Lake Office, maybe Survey of India Office, they help to spread the goodwill, and also at educational institutions like Presidency College, Jadavpur University, IIT Kharagpur. Yes, think of them. It can happen. Along with this, we must have a pamphlet to distribute. The pamphlet is digital, and we have used digital technology as QR codes not only on the signage. You can see the squares of QR codes. You can now pause the video and you can scan the QR code with your smartphones to get videos, to get the routes, so on and so forth. And when these pamphlets are given, you see this is how you can fold it, to tourist scouts and various tourist organizations, it will help our geotourism and geoheritage. And to actually have, God willing, the first ever geopark in India. At the moment, it is under the brand name Indian Geoparks. So now some account of, after all the exercises we have done through various webinars, we have evolved at a stage where now we more or less have got a few points by which we can really make geotourism happen at important locations of geoheritage. So, making of geotourism, a geopark creates an ecosystem for geotourism. Worldwide, that is the case. We are yet to have geoparks in India. In India, let us make geotourism popular to take us towards geopark. Until then, the brand name is Indian Geoparks. So, a geopark is an insurance policy for geoheritage. It gives geoconservation. Geopark is multi-thematic with geology, a crucial part. Now let us see planning of Godavari Geopark or Godavari Geotourism. First, for any geoheritage to become a flourishing geotourism, wherein busloads of geotourists can be taken around, make a list of all the important sites of the area. Here there are a list of 8 for the Godavari Delta region. Deccan traps, fossiliferous. As you are aware, fossils draw people who do not have geological knowledge. Tell them about fossils, they will be attracted. Then after the Deccan traps and fossiliferous intertrapians, you have Bomuru refractory clay and factories that produce ceramics, and Dwaraka Tirumala China clay for ceramics, Yerra Kaluva Thoba ash. This is going to be a great crowd puller because Thoba ash and the Thoba volcanism, it has got great significance around the country, and this is an event which has taken place while human beings were on earth. And so it is of great anthropological significance. Then you have Guntupalli caves, Gondwana cross-bedded sandstone, and the Andhra Ajanta there, rock-cut caves. Then Pattisima Khondalite and Charnakite streamer trip, Draksharamam Dakshina Kashi temple. It is the Banaras of the south. And you have Kodinga Wildlife Sanctuary, an eco park. We have all the ingredients. So collect good photographs, and here are the routes. You see, you can see the Godavari Delta, and in the middle the river Godavari branching off to make Godavari Delta. And all the points of geoheritage sites marked there. You can take 2 bus trips, one east of Godavari, one west of Godavari, and one launch trip. All are morning to evening. So it is going to be 3 days, or if you want 1 day each, whichever way. But the present mainstay and the tourist puller is the steamer trip on River Godavari. So you have 1 east of Godavari, 2 west of Godavari, and 3 the steamer trip, which almost you get 500 to 1000 tourists a day between the months of November to February at Rajamanduri. So look at all sites for geotourism. So this is a photographic account, Deccan Traps, and fossils, the biggest crowd pullers. And this particular picture is for the West. You have very good publications on that. A Princeton University professor and a hypothesis of tunnels through which the lava has flowed from Deccan Traps, the main Deccan Traps, which are hundreds of kilometers away from Rajamanduri, through tunnels. Please Google and you will get it. And then this one is right at Rajamanduri, 2 kilometers only from a geology postgraduate department of Adikavi Nannaya Universities. Fossils abundantly available there. And this particular site, we have written to the Director General Geological Survey of India to consider it, making it as a national geological monument. So you have fossil Turritella and Faisa. And the Papikundalu tour or the Godavari steamer trip, you can plan a night stay there. There are hutments with all facilities, campfire, dinner, and fun and frolic, all available in the pristine environment of Poppy Hills, Papikundalu. Konda in Telugu is hill, Poppy Hills. And the wonderful boat trip in the Kondalite, Charnakite terrain. So at Rajamanduri, you have an archaeological museum too. And then you have Sir Arthur Cotton Museum, the first dam at Dhavaleshwaram created in 1850. And Sir Arthur Cotton is almost considered like a god in these areas because he fought in the British Parliament for funds to make the bridge, and his narrative was, make the dam and you will get back the taxes. And it really happened, and Godavari Delta became a rice bowl. After that, you have this fantastic Errakalva Toba ash bed. There is, in fact, a resort also at the Errakalva reservoir. Even people can stay there overnight. Good accommodation there. So this is the Toba ash. It is not a photo of the Errakalva itself. Mahendra Reddy, my colleague who worked there extensively, he will help in the geotourism of this place. Anthropologists know that Toba ash and Toba volcanism has actually created a bottleneck in human population. This event took place 75,000 years ago, and the volcanic winter was around 10 years, almost bringing down the human population. So this is the Toba volcano. Now presently it is a lake in Indonesia. So you have the Buddhist sites, rock cut caves known as Andhra Ajanta. Here is an instance where an archaeological survey department's museum, which at the moment doesn't have much visitations, not many visitors or footfalls there, but geotourism is going to help it because of this. Right in this museum, you have the Gondwana sandstone clearly showing cross-bedded nature, deltoic formation, but the direction of the flow is not the present direction of the drainage. That is the fable we are going to tell for geotourism. So then you have the Kuringa Wildlife Reserve. Our members, Dr. S.N. Prasad, an ornithologist, he will help us to know more about these endangered bird species. And otter, Godavari otter, very endangered. And just think of relaxing here in the mangrove of the Godavari Delta, Kodinga Wildlife Reserve, and nearby there are very good hotels, mainly for tourists. So the Godavari tourism has all the ingredients. Cultural part, the Dakshin Kashi, Benares of the south, Draksharamam, and Dwarka Tirumala, Chota Tirupati or Chota Tirumala. Chinna Tirupati, we call it in Telugu. And then the China clay beds at Dwarka Tirumala, which are also used for refractory bricks, etc. So let's see the geotourism circuits. Now we have the list of all the important places which will make geotourism possible. Now we have to make circuits where you start, where you will have your snack, tea, coffee, and then where you will have lunch, where restrooms are available, where you will rest for the evening, so on. That is very important for planning. Then mix all the ingredients. This is the Sharbat of Indian geoparks: geology, archaeology, environment, anthropology. That makes a glass of Indian geopark Sharbat. So, geotourism circuit 1. You start at the Intertrapian fossiliferous beds, a Deccan Traps quarry, and Professor Srinivasa Rao, Professor Swami, Professor Peter of Adikavi Nannaya University, which is only 2 kilometers from this outcrop, will be of great help to bring this particular quarry into the geotourism. They will help us, and they have taken me there. I will remain thankful to them for showing me this fantastic outcrop. As I have mentioned earlier, we have now applied for giving it a National Geological Monument status. In the East Coast, there are very few fossil sites, and this is one of them. Then from there, you will go by a bus to see the Rajamanduri sandstone, a Miocene sandstone, equivalent to the Kadalur sandstone, and they have these clay beds, Bomuru clay for refractory articles. There are factories for that, ceramics. And then segment 2 is where you have Sir Arthur Cotton Museum. In the museum, the entire work, how it took place to build a dam in the mid-19th century, and the Geological Survey of India has presented a 3D model of the Godavari Delta. Dr. K. Kameshwara Rao, my colleague, a retired director at Geological Survey of India, Hyderabad. I was also part of the group preparing it, and Geological Survey of India has presented this 3D model to this museum. So, and then if time permits, we can visit this Archaeological Museum, and then we can go to this Codium floriculture, a wonderful sight, and even a day is not sufficient actually to see it, and just mentioning it because we pass through it. And if we have lady geologists, then definitely they will stay there and the next day they will spend here. Wonderful. Codium exports saplings, seeds to much of India, to Bengaluru, to much of South, to Hyderabad. So it is a great treat to the eye, and also to talk with the farmers who live on floriculture. And maybe you can buy some of them, seeds as well as saplings, take home. Then after this, you have the culture spot, the Dakshin Kashi, Draksharamam, and then after that, the last one, Kodinga Wildlife Sanctuary. So all this is tabled here, and very clearly the distances and the time that can be taken is marked here. But unless you take the bus ride, you are not sure where the shoe pinches, and you might have to adjust. And our pioneer workers, Sudha Vaddadi and Nataraj Vaddadi of Pune, who have already conducted bus trips for Geotourism of Pune, they will be of great help in planning this. I had the pleasure of being on those buses and Geotourism of Pune, November 2019. So here is the table, and here is the actual circuit. You can pause this video, scan this QR code to get all the points. I would suggest you pause the video and scan the QR code so that you can send me feedback. So the first geotourism track is over. So then we have the second geotourism track. Let's say that also can start from Archaeology Museum. Then you can go to Gauripatnam Traps, very close to the native place of S.V. Satyanarayana, who is moderator for this particular webinar, Godavari Geotourism. And Guntupalli Caves and Gondwana Sandstone, Dwarka Tirumala China Clay Mines, Dwarka Tirumala Temple, and I have not mentioned here. If time permits, we can stitch in the Errakalua, Toba Ash and ash beds, and Errakalua, the lake also. There is a dam, Errakalua Dam. So yes, a nice sharbat here also. Let's go to segment 1. The Archaeological Museum. From there we start in the morning and we visit this Gauripatnam or Duddukuru quarries where intertapians are there. And on this, Dr. D.S.N. Raju, a paleontologist renowned, he is retired from Oil and Natural Gas Commission. He belongs to Rajamanduri. He helped the professor from Princeton University in paleontology, and professors from IIT Mumbai also came, and they have published, and the theory of a tunnel through which the lavas of Deccan Trap have reached this far-flung area at Rajamanduri. So after that, the Andhra Ajanta rock-cut caves, which is now under the Department of Archaeology. You need a ticket to go to the museum. There is a nice washroom and all that. And then the Gondwana sandstone will give us a lot of field work, measuring the direction from the graded bedding. Top set, four set, all kinds of beds you can see there. Then you have the China clay deposits, Dwarka Tirumala, and the temple. I have not shown the Errakalua here, but in the track that you are about to see now, it is there. Errakalua is also there. The Toba ash occurrence, which my colleague Mahendra Reddy Garu has described. A publication is soon going to be there. by Mahendra Reddy and B.M. Shah, my very well-learned quaternary geology colleagues. And in Toba Ash, the youngest Toba Tuf, YTT. Yes, for geologists it's a great name for quaternary geology. You can see all that. Please pause the video and scan the QR code to actually get the total picture of this tour. And after this, the third one. So we have spent already 2 days. Then it is the steamer trip, a wonderful steamer trip. At the moment, to these pristine river waters known as Papikundalu, you have not less than 1,500 to 1,000 tourists per day, highest footfall. Professor Dheeraj Mohan Banerjee has suggested to me to actually make some statistical analysis of the footfall of the tourists. Yeah, definitely, sir, I will do it and see that how it can be translated into our geotourism. And then benefits from Indian geoparks. This is for those who are seeing this video for the first time. Indian geoparks will improve tourism, benefiting local prosperity. You can see the bus with the logo, and will create employment for geotourist guides and kiosks for brochures, tea, and badges for geo guides, those who can even guide in archaeology, culture, etc. It will lead to awareness of geoheritage, environment, geoconservation, and responsible tourism. This is very important. You see, for geoconservation, you cannot wield a hammer on the fossils. You have to just see them. Maybe you can have some plastic replicas created and take home. All you can do is take home the photographs and memories of the fossils. So, now about Rajamanduri, the city from which this geotourism will take place. Adikavi Nannaya University PG department, postgraduate department, 2 kilometers from the Trapean sites. It is a great thing for us. And then the airport at Rajamanduri, you have flights to Hyderabad, Bengaluru and Chennai. The flight takes just more than an hour to any of these destinations. Then Rajamanduri is on the Chennai-Kolkata National Highway and also the rail route. The census population is about 7 lakhs. It's a city with all the facilities of the big cities. The best period is from November to February, and actually December to January are the best for geological field work, like any part of the peninsular India. Here I have a suggestion for my friends from the WhatsApp Geoheritage group and Indian Geoparks Facebook group. Let us make the period December to January every year as the months for geotourism, geoheritage and Indian geoparks, so that very soon we can see a geopark in India. Papikundalu Godavari launch trip is the present tourist attraction. 500 to 1,000 tourists come each day between the months of November to February. Even if 3 in 10 tourists are interested, with signages and pamphlets which I have shown, initially we have to put in a bit of struggle. Maybe it will be just the amount we spend we may get as returns. We may not have a profit initially, but we can make the geotourism attractive for ordinary tourists. That is our main aim. So, tourists may also show interest in Godavari Geopark and tourist circuits. That's what we should drive in. Initially, we may be barely managing to really equate the expense and return. Let's hope that we can really make it work. So this is a summing up webinar, as initially told you. I have given you a historical account of the actual initiative. It is not complete. Let me give you this. It is not complete. I have many stalwarts in my group who know more than me. So I request them to please let us interact on the Facebook page, Indian Geoparks, and the WhatsApp group, GeoHeritage WhatsApp group, and see that we can add on to the account of Indian Geoheritage historical account. Now, this Godavari Geotourism, this actual webinar live, the premiere took place on 27th of December 2020, and soon after that on Google Meet, moderator S.V. Satyanarayana, my colleague, Director, Geological Survey of India, retired, has conducted a very good discussion. I have collected some salient points of the discussion, and I have searched for photographs of certain points in the discussion. So I'm going to show you that. Salient points of discussion. S.V. Satyanarayana narrated about other spots of geotourism in Godavari districts, including the Polavaram project, an under construction multi-purpose irrigation national project, and Kolleru bird sanctuary, and Rajamanduri Havelock Bridge. Kolleru bird sanctuary is a bit away. Maybe after we may have to have a separate geotourism track for Kolleru, and our environmentalists, Dr. S.N. Prasad and Dr. Prasad, they can suggest about the geotourism, how to develop at Kolleru Bird Sanctuary. The Havelock Bridge, which is now not in use, is left for tourism. So let us make the best use of it. You can walk on the bridge and alight on one of the sandbars. Yeah, that is one of the things that can happen. At the moment there are no steps, so we may request the tourism department to see that there are some steps created. So after this, S.V. Satyanarayana and S. Ramamurthy, my colleagues, retired directors, GSI, have touched upon Warangal geotourism. And in this, I would say that we had some excursion planned by our Pakhal geology expert, T. Srinivasa Rao, retired Director, Geological Survey of India. We went around to see the possibility of geotourism, putting together cultural and geological tourism spots together. My colleague P.V. Sesharao, retired Director, GSI, was also there, and several others were also there, including Professor Panduranga Rao, who was instrumental in bringing the Ramappa temple to try to make it as a heritage site recognized by UNESCO. He teaches at NIT Warangal, and most of Ramappa temple is made by the dolerite swamps, dikes, and then the red part of the temple you are seeing, it is all from Solavai sandstone of Pakhals. See the wonderful architecture in dolerite. You can see a princess and her servant. She is trying to remove a kata from the leg of the princess. It's a wonderfully polished dolerite. Really, in that period, how the dolerite could take such a polish is another question to be solved. And then, yes, mega ripple marks. And as a scale, our moderator, S.V. Satyanarayana, is there. So you have a nice geology and archaeology and culture. Of course, there are anthropological sites also. There is a Pakal lake nearby. So this is going to be geotourism. That's probably on the other side and better side of the pandemic. So ripple marks in Solowai sandstone. The salient points of the discussion were Professor Dheeraj Mohan Banerjee suggested summing up of activity undertaken in 2020 as a booklet. I accept it, sir. I will try to make it as a semi-digital booklet. Professor Dheeraj Mohan Banerjee is one of the very important components of our GeoHeritage WhatsApp group as well as the GeoHeritage Indian Geoparks Facebook group. G.P. Mohapatra, our retired Additional Director General, he suggested to make the tourism track more tourist friendly. We'll make it, sir. And Dr. Sudha Nataraj, she wanted to know about the Toba ash bed of at Errakalua. Yeah, madam, I will definitely post some photographs by getting it from Mahendra Reddy, my colleague. In the discussion, Dr. Farooq and Rajendran, who is going to bring a Karnataka geotourism very soon, and Satyabrata Goha, who has presented ROD geotourism in the month of October. They all participated actively. So with this, thank you very much. Remember, it was on 27th December 2020. Today is just, I'm 2 days away from the New Year. Khuda Hafiz, Namaskar, bye bye.